Start. Good morning, guys. Welcome to day two of mastering performance testing using Neoload tool. So in yesterday's session, like we discussed about what is Neoload, what is the history of Neoload, and the key features of Neoload. Along with that, we discussed about the comparison of JMeter tool, LoadRunner tool with the Neoload tool, and out of all the tools, which tool when we need to use it, right? So those kind of basic concepts we discussed in our last session. So in continuation with that, like we'll try to understand few more important points in today's session. So the agenda for today's session is we are going to start with structure of URL. So we need to understand what the URL is, and we need to understand the structure of URL. And also we need to go with the types of software environments and some basic terminology, PT terminology I'm going to cover here. Once after completing that, I'll go to the Neoload architecture. I'll explain you the architecture of Neoload in a detailed way. Once after completing that, we'll go with the installation of Neoload tool, and we are going to record a scenario using Neoload tool. And also I'll discuss about few basic Neoload options which are available. Okay. With that, I'm going to conclude the session for today. So let's start quickly with this URL part. Okay. So coming to URL, right? URL is nothing but uniform resource locator. So most of you already know this part, but again, we need to understand the structure of URL, which is very, very important for us. So in order to understand the structure of URL, right, I just want to take one example here. So let us consider your website. So whatever the website that you are planning to work with, right? So let us consider your website like a house. So if you consider the website like a house, then URL is nothing but it's like the address of that particular house. So you can think in that way. So it defines whether your where your website lives online. Okay, URL simply defines where your website lives online. Okay, so that is what the URL is. So you need to understand the structure of URL, which is very, very important. And the structure of URL, right, it divided into different parts, right, which starts with scheme. Okay, the structure of URL starts with scheme. So we need to understand what exactly the scheme is, right? So the first part of the URL is scheme, guys. So scheme is nothing but which is going to tell the web servers which protocol to use it whenever if someone is accessing that particular website. So if it is a e-commerce domain kind of application, right? So which protocol we need to use accordingly, right? So on which protocol they develop that application, and that protocol is going to be defined under the scheme here. So for example, like most of the applications, they'll use like HTTPS only, hypertext transfer protocol secured. So which is the common scheme that most of the websites they are going to use it. Okay, so this is very, very important part that you need to remember. Why? Because going forward also we are going to work with the same structure. So in that scheme is the major thing for us. And when it comes to the next part is the host. So the host is completely divided into three parts. So one is the subdomain, and the second one is the domain, and the third one is the TLD. So what is the subdomain represents? So we considered like our website as a house, right? So in that, like a URL is nothing but the address of that particular house. So in the same way, in that particular house, you can consider this subdomain as a specific room. Okay. You can consider that subdomain as a specific room in that particular house. So if it is a e-commerce kind of application, or any kind of retail applications, or any common applications, right? The general subdomain that we are going to see is www, World Wide Web, right? So this is the basic subdomain that we are going to see. So what this subdomain is nothing but it's like a specific room in that particular website, okay, or in that particular house where that information is there, okay, where that particular information is going to be there, right? So some of the other subdomains apart from this www is nothing but your blog, Okay, so whenever if you are trying to visit some blog, or whenever if you are trying to visit some offers kind of page, right? So then you are going to see like blog dot some website name, right? So our offers dot some website name. So those are nothing but your subdomains here. So next we need to understand the next part as domain, or we can call it as the second level domain. So this second level domain is nothing but your website name. So which website you are trying to access, that is nothing but your second level domain or domain here. That website name is going to be represented here. So for example, if you are trying to access the Flipkart application, Flipkart is the domain name here in this case. And the next one that we need to know is the TLD. TLD is nothing but top level domain. So which specifies like what type of entity your organization registers on the internet. So for example, right, if it is a commercial entity, then obviously it is going to end with like your host is going to end with .com. If it is an academic kind of entity, then it is going to end with .edu. Okay, so that's what this top level domain indicates. You can see the top level domain, and you can verify, you can confirm which type of entity it is, whether it is academic entity or commercial type of website. So you can easily identify here by seeing this top domain, so top level domain. Okay, so the next thing that we need to know is the path. So path is also like a very, very important one. So what path represents is nothing but it specifies the location of the file or resource where it is going to like which particular this particular user is going to access. So again, path is going to have subdirectories, right? So in that particular subdirectories, under which particular subdirectory that particular file or resource which the user is trying to access is there, right? So that is going to represent the path here. And the next thing that you need to see is the question mark here, this one. So whatever the remaining data that we have after this question mark, right? It's a combination of, we are going to call it as query string as well as fragment. So what query string is going to have is nothing but query string is going to have parameters, and each and every parameter is going to have some key value pairs. So let us consider one particular e-commerce application, for example, here. So in this e-commerce application, right, generally, like if you are going to visit that application, you'll find like lot of categories like electronics category, okay, for dresses like fashion kind of category. So like that, different categories you are going to see in that particular website. So under that categories, right, which category you are going to select, okay, that will be represented over here as the key value pairs in the form of a query string. And also any values, okay, any parameters, any kind of inputs that you are providing. For example, if you are entering some email id, right? So email id is equals to so and so at the rate gmail.com. So that kind of values are also going to be passed under this query string accordingly, right? So on a high level, your query string is going to have parameters, and each parameter is going to have key value pairs, okay, which is going to be useful for us for the smooth process of this URL. And the final one that you need to know is the fragment. Okay, this is the optional component, guys. So generally, right, these are placed at the end of this particular URL with the hash symbol. Right after this hash, whatever that you are going to see, right, that we are going to call it as a fragment. So what it is going to indicate is nothing but it is going to indicate a specific location on the web page, okay, where like again, which is kind of some ID as well as name kind of thing. Okay, so generally you can ignore it. So it is an optional element itself. So you can ignore it. So no need to concentrate much on that fragment part. But our major concentration should be on the remaining parts like scheme, host, path, as well as the query string. Okay, so these are the basic points that you need to know about the structure of URL. So once if you are good with the structure of URL, we need to know the next part, that is the types of uh, environments that we are going to have. So in software, right, different teams are going to use different types of environments. For each and every environment, the URL is going to be different. Whatever the URL that we discussed over here, it is different for each and every environment. So let's try to understand what are all the different types of environments that are available. Okay. So the first environment that we are going to see here is the development environment. Generally, right, this is going to be used by the development teams. Dev teams are going to use this environment in order to develop the new features. They'll develop the new features and they will do the changes in the existing features in that particular environment. So for them, a dedicated environment is going to be provided so that they can do whatever they want in that environment. They can develop the new features or they can do the changes, right? And everything they will do it on that environment itself. And in this particular environment, right, we are not going to use any production data. Okay, no client data is going to be used in this environment. And the next environment that we need to know is the testing environment. So generally QA engineers, right? Quality assurance engineers are going to use this environment to test different software versions. So once the development is done, right, that particular code, okay, or that particular build is going to be deployed on the testing environment, right? And that particular software versions, we are going to test it in the testing environment. And here also we need to use only the dummy data, but not the production data here. And the next environment that we need to know is the staging environment. And this is also going to be used by the QA engineers or clients for UAT testing. UAT is nothing but user acceptance testing. So generally, once the application got developed and tested, so we need to show that application to the clients to get some approval, to get the final approval. So before getting the final approval, we need to go to the staging environment and we need to test the application, or else we need to ask the client, okay, to test the application or the features, whatever that our team developed and tested. So that once if the client got satisfied and if everything is working fine in the staging environment, then only they are going to move that code to the production environment. So here in the staging environment, right, we'll get some access to limited production data. We can use some limited production data for testing purpose also. And the next environment as well as the final environment that we need to know is the production environment. So production environment is nothing but the live. It's a live website, right? Where your live website is there, that environment, we are going to call it as the production environment. Generally, it is going to be used by the normal users like us. So for example, if I want to purchase something, what I will do, I'll open like flipkart.com, right? www.flipkart.com on my browser. Simple, right? So that environment is nothing but the live environment or production environment, where normal users like me are going to purchase some item in that particular application. And generally, this particular live environments, right, it is going to be hosted in cloud infrastructures or data centers. Cloud infrastructures are data centers. So here, full production data only we need to use. And sometimes as a performance tester, right, we need to do the production testing also according to the requirement. If your client is going to ask you to do some production testing, then again, you need to do it. You need to get some data, like production data from the client, and you need to do the production testing also as a part of this performance testing. So these are all the different types of environments that we have. So for each and every environment, as I mentioned, whatever the URL that we discussed, right, that URL will vary. So for example, if it is a dev environment and if the application name is, for example, Flipkart over here, then the URL is going to look like dev.flipkart.com. Okay, dev.flipkart.com, something like this. I'm writing with my mouse. Please ignore my handwriting. Okay. So if it is a testing environment, right, then the URL is going to be like test.flipkart.com. If it is a staging environment, stage.flipkart.com. If it is a production environment, then it is going to be like www.flipkart.com, something like that, right? So for each and every environment, the URLs are going to vary, especially the host is going to vary, right? Especially only the host will vary. Remaining like scheme, path, as well as query parameters or query strings, they are not going to change. Only the host will change in each and every environment. The remaining things are going to be same as it is. So I hope like this part is also clear. Please feel free to stop me whenever if you have any doubts here. So with this basic idea, we'll try to jump into the next slide. So our next topic for today is PT terminology. I just want to give some basic introduction to some basic PT terminology here. So first we need to understand what is request in performance testing. So request is nothing but it's a single call or interaction made to the application being tested. So for example, if we are testing some application, whenever if we are doing a single call or interaction with that application, that single call or interaction, we are going to call it as a request here. So for now, just understand the theory part. I'll show you practically like what is request and what is transaction and what is other PT terminologies practically. Okay. So in this case, the request is nothing but a single call which we are going to make to the application that needs to be tested. That is nothing but your request here. Next terminology that we need to know is transaction. So what is transaction? Transaction represents a sequence of requests or interactions that are grouped together to measure the performance of a specific business process or workflow. So transaction on a high level, I can say as group of requests are going to form a transaction. So sequence of requests or interactions that we are going to make to the application to execute one particular business process. That is nothing but we are going to call it as a transaction here. So for example, if you take any e-commerce application, launch is one transaction. Launching that particular application is one transaction. Just login is one transaction, right? If you are performing some search operation, that is one transaction. If you are clicking on some search result, that is one transaction, right? In that way, we can consider the transaction here in terms of performance testing. So why I'm covering this is nothing but, again, these are very basic things. Again, few terminologies may vary for automation testers. So that is the reason why I'm covering here the basic points, whatever that we need to know. And the next terminology that we need to know is the scenario. Scenario is nothing but it defines a sequence of transactions. I can simply say like a group of transactions which simulates the user behavior over a time period. So that is nothing but a scenario here. So group of requests, we are going to call it as a transaction, and group of transactions, we are going to call it as a scenario. So group of transactions which is going to perform some process. Okay, that is nothing but your scenario. So example I can give you as user registration, product booking, order tracking for an e-commerce application. So if you are trying to do the user registration, you need to launch the application and then you need to click on the sign up button and then you need to enter your details and finally you're going to click on register button, right? So like this, you need to perform multiple steps over here, right? Or transactions over here. Those group of transactions, we are going to call it as a scenario. And the next one that we need to know is the suite, right? Suite is nothing but it's a collection of multiple scenarios or tests or test cases that are executed together, right? So if you take one particular application, like any e-commerce application, in that user registration is one scenario, product booking is another one, order tracking, password change, like that multiple scenarios you may get in one particular application, right? if you collect all those scenarios under one particular file, that we are going to call it as a suit here. Collection of multiple scenarios or collection of multiple tests or test cases, okay, which in order to execute together all these multiple scenarios, we are going to call that as a test suite here, right? So if you take any e-commerce application, different roles are going to be there. Like admin role is going to be there, buyer role is going to be there, seller role is going to be there, right? For each and every role, we are going to have multiple scenarios. For each and every scenario, we are going to have multiple transactions. For each and every transaction, we are going to have multiple requests, right? This is what the flow is, right? If you want to run all those particular roles related scenarios in one go, then you need to prepare the suit for all those particular things, right? So that is what your suit represents on a high level. So I hope this part is clear. Any questions till now? Please feel free to ask. Any questions till now, guys? No? Okay. So if questions are not there, then we'll jump into the next slide. Okay. So the next part that we need to know is the Neoload architecture, which is very important one. So before starting the Neoload recording process and everything, installation process, recording process and everything, we need to understand the architecture. That is the flow here. Okay, that is the flow here. So let's quickly jump into the Neoload architecture. So one second. So Neoload architecture, when coming to the Neoload architecture, right, at the top of this particular Neoload architecture diagram, you are going to see the controller, Neoload controller. So this is the first part of the architecture that you need to know. So what this controller will do is it acts as the central command unit. So which is responsible for managing and orchestrating the load testing process actually. So controller is the place where we are going to uh, design our scripts, where we are going to do the test execution setups, and from where we are going to execute the tests, and from where we are going to see the results, generate the reports, everything we'll do it on the controller itself. So that is the reason why I'm going to call this controller as a central command unit. So if you install Neoload on your machine, then your machine is going to be the controller here in this case. Why? Because on your machine, you install Neoload and you are going to perform all these actions. That means you are going to design the script, you are going to do the runtime settings, and you are going to do the test execution setups, and you are going to execute the test, generate the reports, everything you are going to do it on the controller itself. So your machine is going to act as a controller once if you install the Neoload on your machine. That is what the controller is. Okay. And again, what this controller will do is in this controller itself, we are going to do the setup of load generators. We are going to do the setup of load generators in the controller itself. And this controller will send the commands to different load generators. Generally, there are two types of load generators that we may come across. The first one is the cloud-based load generators, and the second one is the on-premises load generators. Right? Cloud-based is nothing but, again, the LGs are going to be on cloud. So we know that it's a basic one. And on-premise is nothing but we are going to have a specific infrastructure, right? Organization level infrastructure within that particular organization itself. Okay. So that we are going to call it as a on-premise here. So with the help of either the cloud load generators or on-premise load generators, we can execute our tests. So what this particular load generator is going to do? Next question, right? So we need to understand what load generators are. Load generator name itself indicates that it is going to generate the load. So either it is going to generate the load by using the cloud from different locations, or we can also generate the load with the help of on-premises load generators. So with the help of anything, we can go with it. Based on your budget, you can go with either cloud-based load generators or on-premise load generators. Both type of LGs are going to be supported by your Neoload. So the next architecture will be, the next architecture process that we need to know is the network emulation and device simulation here. So generally, whenever if you are trying to access any kind of application like Flipkart, right? You may access that Flipkart application either from laptop or tab or from mobile or from your desktop, right? From any kind of device, you can access that kind of application. And you can access that application by using Wi-Fi or by using your mobile data, whether it may be the 5G or 4G or 3G networks, right? So with different devices and with different network speeds, you may access that application. So if you want to replicate that kind of behavior with the help of the Neoload tool, you have that feature in Neoload tool, which is nothing but in the form of network emulation as well as the device simulation, wherein we can simply select uh, from which particular type of device we need to send the request and what is the network speed for that particular device. Both we can select over here. That option is available in Neoload. We can simply set up that kind of requirement easily in Neoload. And after doing that setup and everything, once if we trigger the test on the controller part, then the controller will send the commands to the load generators, and whatever the network emulation as well as the device simulation setup that we made on the controller, your load generators will use the same setup, and they are going to send the request from that particular device with that network speed to the servers, right? This is the app DB as well as the web servers where your application is hosted. So again, we have a separate session on the servers going forward. In that, I'm going to explain what is web server, what is app server, what is DB server, how they are connected, what are load balancers, right? These kind of things I'm going to cover it on a very detailed way in our coming sessions. But for now, you need to understand that with the help of Neoload, we can simply trigger the test, and that Neoload is going to take help of the load generators, and the load generators will send the request to your servers. And at that particular time, this Neoload is having one more feature called monitoring feature. So this Neoload at that time, it is going to monitor the process properly. It is going to monitor the response times. It is going to monitor the server health. It is going to monitor the throughput as well as error rates. These kind of different metrics, it is going to monitor uh, parallelly, so that once after completing the test, you can do the result analysis so easily, and you can identify the bottlenecks as well as the performance issues, if at all, if anything is there. So on a high level, this is the complete architecture. And one more thing here is the firewall. Okay, firewall is also going to be there in the middle, right? Generally, for your machines also, you're going to see the firewall settings. So this firewall is for security purpose, obviously, right? So on a high level, this is what the Neoload architecture is. Any questions here in the Neoload architecture part? So controller, it is going to orchestrate the load generation part, and load generators, it is going to simply simulate the users, right? It is going to generate the users, and it is going to send the request with the help of that load generators. And again, this network and device simulation is going to simply use different devices as well as network speeds in order to send the request. And the monitor part will monitor the server health as well as the response times, error rates, and throughput, and many more, right? So on a high level, this is what the architecture is, right? So as a next step, we need to understand how to install the Neoload on your machine. Okay, let's quickly try to understand the installation process. So in order to install, right, first we need to download the Neoload tool. So just go to the browser. Okay, go to the browser, just search like Neoload download on Google. So the first website that you're going to see here is the triscientist.com. So this is the official website from where you can download the Neoload easily. So just click on the start your trial for of Neoload. So it will take you to the next page. Request for the Neoload trial here. So once after filling the details of that particular required information over here, right? Once after filling the required information over here, you can simply click on get free trial option and you will come to this particular page, okay, wherein it is showing thank you and one mail is going to be activation mail is going to be sent to your mail ID, okay, and you need to activate your mail ID over there, and also you will get one more link from that Tricentis support hub, wherein if you click that link, it will take you to this particular page. You can download the current version of Neoload from here. So the current version of Neoload is 2024.4, that is beta version. So generally, I won't prefer to go with beta version. The reason is you may see like multiple bugs in that version. So generally what I will suggest is to go with the uh, like a proper version, like instead of beta version. So it's better to go with 2024.3, right? If at all, if you want to explore 2024.4, that is also fine. Okay, you can explore it. It's not an issue. So just click on that particular version which you want to download and go here. And here what you can do is multiple installers are available here. If you hover your mouse, you can see the first one is the documentation page. And the second one is the installer for x86, that is Windows x86 version. And this is for Windows x64. So we need to download this x64. Just click on this, automatically it will download the current version or the version of Neoload which you have selected here. So I have already downloaded that version here and I kept it over here. All the three versions I have downloaded it. So this is the beta version which I mentioned, and this is the 2024.3 version, and this is 2024.1.2 version. Okay. So all three versions of Neoload I have downloaded here. So again, I'm going to share this Neoload file to you guys. Like once after registering into this course, you can simply download and install this versions on your machine, right? So which version you feel comfortable, you can go with. But for now, as I mentioned, I'll go with the 2024.3. Okay, as I don't want to go with beta version. So let me quickly install 2024.3 version. So always, right, it's better to install in the admin mode. Okay, so just select that Neoload, right click on this part and run as administrator. Click on this. So once if you click on run as administrator, it will show, it will give you one pop-up. So just click on S in that particular pop-up so that the installation process will begin. So let's wait here. So I just clicked on S here and the installation process is going to start right now. See, the installation wizard is showing here and it will take some time to do the installation. So let's wait here. In the meantime, any questions till now? One important thing that you need to know is we need to provide official mail ID. Okay, that is nothing but your company's mail ID only to simply register to this particular Tricentis website to get this particular Neoload downloaded here. So your Gmail accounts are not going to work here. So once the basic installation files are going to be downloaded, right? The next pop-up that it is going to show here is the language selection. So by default, English is going to be there. Just keep that one and click on OK. So as a next step, this pop-up will come here and click on next here to start the installation process. Here we need to select I agree the license terms and conditions. Click on next. And this part is very, very important that you need to know. So if you are installing the Neoload on your machine as a controller, wherein you can simply create your scripts, okay, do the test executions and do the result analysis, right? In that case, you can go with the controller option, which is the recommended one, right? If you want to install the Neoload as a load generator, right, then you need to select this option called load generator agent. So automatically only the load generator agent will be installed on that particular machine, and you can use that machine as a LG, and you can trigger the test with the help of that LG. And if you want to use that Neoload as a monitoring agent, that also possible. You can monitor, you can do the monitoring process also by clicking on this monitoring agent, and you can click on install the monitoring agent over here. So for now, we'll go with the recommended one, that is the controller one. Why? Because I just want to record my flow and proceed with the next steps, right? So that is the reason I'm just clicking on next over here. And here we have multiple options like real browser is one of the new feature that Neoload introduced like a few years back. And again, we have WAN emulation, terminal services, multiple options are there. You can select all, okay, and you can click on next. This is the default place where your Neoload is going to install. And it is going to consume some 1.1 GB space. So in my disk, like I have around 25 GB, so I'm good with this. So I'm just clicking on the same, I'm providing the same path and I'm just clicking on next. If you want to change the path, you can change it by clicking on the browse. That is also fine. But I'll prefer to put it in the C programming files only. Okay. I'm just clicking on next here. And here, don't do any changes. Go with the default one. Just click on next. And here also, don't do anything. Just click on next. That's it. Obviously, your installation process is going to start here, and it will take few seconds to install all the files. Let's wait till it is going to complete the installation process. Any questions in the meantime? So let it install. In the meantime, right, we'll try to understand like which particular flow we need to record, right? So as I mentioned, like we discussed about the different basic PT terminology part. As I mentioned, this is the application which I'm going to use in order to explain the Neoload performance testing process going forward. And this is the e-commerce application which I installed on my local. So in this e-commerce application, we are going to have multiple scenarios, right? So user can register into the application, user can log in into the application, and he's going to purchase the different products which are available, right? So a lot of things that the user can do here, right? So let me quickly show you like what exactly the request is, right? In order to show you that, I need to open the developer tools. So let me quickly open the developer tools. Again, we have a separate session for this also, the developer tools session. So in that, I'm going to cover the developer tools in a detailed way. Okay. For now, what I can do is I can simply explain you and show you what are all the PT terminology points that we discussed, right? Once after entering the URL and once if you hit enter on your keyboard, right? So you can see the request that is being sent to the server. So this is the main request that is going to be sent to the server from your browser, right? Along with this main request, right, you're going to have sub requests as well as embedded resources also. Embedded resources are nothing but image files, JavaScript files, okay, CSS files, those kind of things. These are all embedded resources. So if you see right now, I'm trying to hit one particular URL. Okay. So this is the main request of that particular URL. Once this page is going to load, it will load the remaining requests, that is the sub requests as well as the embedded resources also. So let's wait till it is going to load. It is taking some time to load here. Yeah. Now you can see, right? Now you can see this is the main request, and you can see the type here. Okay, if you are having like the type as style sheet, these are nothing but CSS files. Okay, the type script here is nothing but the JavaScript, and the images like PNG images, JPG images, right? Like this, you can see WebP images. These are all icons. These are all going to come under the embedded resources. So each and everything is a request here again. Each and everything is a request, right? So group of requests, right? The first one is main request and remaining all are also requests only. So the group of requests is going to form one transaction. Here in our case, launch is one transaction. Okay. And in the same way, group of transactions, if I want to register the application, register into this application, right? So I'm just going to launch the page and I'm going to click on register. Once if I click on register, again, multiple requests are going to send to the server, right? So this is one transaction. And after entering the details, I'm going to click on register button. So this is one more transaction. So group of transactions, we are going to call it as a scenario. So like this, we are going to have multiple scenarios in this application. That particular group of scenarios, we are going to call it as a suite, right? So that's what on a high level I can show you for now. Going forward, we'll discuss more about these points in our coming sessions. But for now, let's jump into the installation process. So my installation process is going to be complete in next few seconds. So let's wait here. So based on your RAM speed, right? Based on your processor speed, this installation process will take time, guys. So if you have 4 GB RAM or 2 GB RAM, then it will take like more time. If you are having some 16 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM, it will be somewhat quick. So the minimum configuration that is required here is 4 GB RAM is minimum required to install this Neoload on your machine. Any questions you guys have till now? No? Okay.
Hi, this is Priyanka. I
Sorry?
just posted my
Yeah. Yeah, Priyanka.
yeah, yeah, I just posted my question in this group chat. So will you be able to cover testing Neoload with Salesforce Arc as well?
No, that is not a part of this training. But again, right, the Salesforce, it is a complete big package, right? So I'm not going to cover that as a part of this training. I'll cover only the HTTP protocol, like HTTPS protocols, as well as the web services and database in this part. So the same process you can apply on that Salesforce application also. There won't be any difference. You can easily script that Salesforce application. But again, that Salesforce application is going to have like multiple dynamic values, okay, which is a complex dynamic values, I can say. But it is going to be so simple if you follow the same process, whatever that I'm going to teach you right now in this sessions. Okay, if you want, I can take one session on that, but again, that is a different part. We can't consider that under this training part. Okay.
Yes.
So once the installation got completed, you'll see this particular pop-up. So here, right, you can check this option, create desktop icon. And if you want to run the Neoload, you can run it also directly, right? So for now, I'm just checking both the options and I'm just clicking on finish. Once if you click on finish, it will create the icon, desktop icon, as well as it is going to open the Neoload here. So let the Neoload open here and we'll start with the recording process right now. I'll show you like the basic recording process. I'll simply record a few transactions. Or else like let's discuss the basics of Neoload in today's session. We'll go with the recording process in tomorrow's session. And so tomorrow's are options that are there in Neoload as a free session. So let's see whatever that I can cover today. It's already 10. I don't want to take most of your time. So once the Neoload got opened, right, you'll see this kind of user interface here. So here you have multiple options in Neoload. So in this user interface, like it is self-explanatory, you can easily understand the options that we have. So new project option is there. If you click on this, you'll create the new project. If any existing project is there, if you click on this, you can open that existing project. If you want to open the sample project, which is provided by the Neoload, you can click on this open sample project. If you want to open any recent projects, you can click on this recent projects option to open that recent projects. And on the right hand side, right, you'll see the getting started as well as the documentation related to this Neoload. So you can take help of this options also, if at all, if you have any doubts related to Neoload. But for now, you can ignore this. Why? Because I'm going to cover each and every point which is related to the scripting part, test execution part, and analysis part, and you'll get complete exposure on how to use Neoload from basic to advanced level if you go through this particular training, right? And here they will provide some spotlights here. So whatever the new features or the new workshops that they are going to conduct, you can simply see here on this bottom of this particular page, right? So here you can click on the register now, and it will take you to that site where you can register for that particular workshop or spotlight accordingly. And here you have some other options which are self-explanatory again. I just don't want to go into that options. So let me quickly create one new project here. So once if I click on the new project icon, it will show one pop-up. And here you can give the project name. Okay. So I'm just giving the project name as demo project. Okay. So this project name is mandatory, and always make sure that don't give any space here. Why? Because if you give any space, it is going to give the invalid name over here, right? Your Neoload will consider that as the invalid name. So you should not give any space. Either you need to go with this camel casing format, or you can simply put underscore over here. If you want to divide that two words, right, separately, use underscore, demo underscore project or something like that. But don't give any space. It won't consider. Your Neoload won't consider that. For now, I'll go with this format. Like I'm just giving the name as demo project here. And my demo project is going to store under the documents and under the Neoload projects folder. So this is the default place or the project location, okay, where all the Neoload projects will store. If you want to store it in another place, you can click on browse and you can store it. But for now, I'll just go with the same path, right? And if you want to try to connect with GitHub, and if you want to share your project by doing some collaboration, then you can click on this share project and you can go for the server settings option, and you need to do some settings. Going forward, we'll discuss about these options also, right? And also if you want to provide any password protection, right, that also you can do by giving some password over here, and you can share that password. Only that password, like only that person who has this password can access this easily, right? For now, I'm skipping these two options. I'll go with the basic options. Like I'm just giving the path here, like project name here, as well as the default path. And I'm just clicking on finish. Once if I click on finish, a new screen will appear here wherein I can see multiple options. So this is the screen of your project, right? Once the project got created, you're going to see this user interface, and this pop-up will come for the first time. Whenever if you're opening for the first time, this pop-up will come. And here they are going to provide some quick start options here. So if you want to record a scenario, you need to click on this red color icon. If you want to check the user path, you can select this. So some basic options they have provided it. So for now, ignore everything and uncheck this display next time option. If you are not going to uncheck this, whenever if you open Neoload, this pop-up will come. So for now, I'm just clicking on OK. I just don't want to start the recording immediately. I just want to understand few options that are available in Neoload. So I'm going to simply click on OK here. So this is the user interface that you are going to see once after creating the project. So the major three different components, or I can say three different tabs that we have in Neoload is design tab, runtime tab, as well as the results tab. These three tabs are very, very important. If you install a load runner, those who are already aware of load runner, right? If you install load runner, three different components are going to install on your machine. And you can see all those three icons on your desktop also, right? So that is Vusion, controller, as well as analysis, right? So here, those three components are nothing but design, runtime, and results. So in yesterday's session also, I mentioned that your Neoload tool is a combination of load runner and JMeter, right? So that's what I'm trying to explain here. So there three components will install. Here also we are going to see three different components. There Vusion, controller, as well as analysis, right? Here also the same thing. In place of Vusion, they renamed it as design. Okay, the controller then renamed it as runtime, and the analysis, they renamed it as results. That's it. So with the help of Vusion, how we are going to create our scripts and how we are going to validate our scripts, the same thing we are going to do it with the help of the design tab here. And under the design tab, we have again three different tabs. One is the user path, populations, and monitors, right? So with the help of the user path, we can simply record any kind of flow, or we can simply work on any kind of script enhancements in the user path section. In the population section, we are going to bring all the user paths to the population section to give the percentage of population, okay, among the user paths. And once this is done, we'll go to the monitors and we are going to do or we are going to integrate our tools with again APM tools like App Dynamics or Dynatrace here in the monitors part. And once this part is done under the design section, we'll go to the runtime tab, wherein we are going to simply do the scenario setup. Scenario setup here is nothing but in load runner controller, how we are going to do the test execution setup and how we are going to run the test execution in controller as well as LRE, right? In the same way, here also you are going to do the same process like test execution setup you can do as well as test execution you can do in the runtime tab. When it comes to the results tab, right? Here you can simply view the results. Like this is nothing but your analysis tab. Once the test execution got completed, you will automatically redirect to this particular tab, results tab, wherein you can see the test summary as well as the error details. You can merge different graphs over here. You can see the values, that is the summary report over here clearly. And also you can generate the HTML reports also from this particular tab. So this is the replication of analysis icon or the analysis component of load runner. So like this, we can simply describe the basic components of Neoload again. Okay. So with this part, I just want to close the session here for today. We'll discuss about the recording process in tomorrow's session, guys. So it will take much time again for the recording process. So I'll cover that in tomorrow's session. So that's all for today. Any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, we'll end the session here for today.